terrorist strategy and reaffirming the principle that no concessions should be made to terrorists. President Fujimori's message to the rebels is clear. It is they who must compromise because the government will not. Alan Little, BBC News, Lima.
Scientists at Bradford University are on the verge of a breakthrough in understanding one of the great remaining mysteries of space, the nature and origin of starbursts. These sudden explosions of high-energy radiation sometimes last just a few seconds. Now a telescope on the Yorkshire moors has been enhanced to capture their short life. This report from our North of England correspondent Mike Mackay.
It's already one of the smartest telescopes in the business, a £200,000 robotic machine that only comes out to scan the sky when it's done its own weather check. What's also unique about it is that it's available on the internet, literally from anywhere on Earth. There are more than 35,000 registered users of the telescope around the world, and each week between them they make at least 120,000 hits or calls upon its service, and the demand is growing. Developed at Bradford University, the telescope is linked by computers to a NASA satellite. For 25 years, the satellite's been detecting gamma bursts, brief, distant explosions of high-energy radiation which leave no visible trace. Now, the scientists are about to upgrade their telescope to produce a 4 times bigger picture of the sky.
What we're doing is putting a piggyback camera on our telescope, which has the same field of view that the satellite has in space, and that looks for this star that's varying very rapidly that we can associate with the gamma burster, and it moves the main telescope then to look at that star.
It's a prospect exciting astronomers around the world, not least in America. No gamma burst has ever been caught in a visual image. No one knows if they come from the edge of our galaxy or the edge of the universe.
The idea of having a telescope that can respond on very short notice, as this one can, to the satellite signal that says, ah yes, I've seen one of these bursts, and within 30 seconds to spin around in the sky and point at that direction in the sky to see if there's any afterglow in the optical part of the spectrum, is a goal that a number of groups around the world have been working towards for quite a while.
Back in Bradford, John Baruch believes 1997 could be the year the mystery of gamma burst is finally unravelled. And if it is, thousands of enthusiasts on the internet will share in the secret. Mike Mackay, BBC News, West Yorkshire.
The European Parliament has called for an investigation into safety standards on German building sites, following a number of fatal accidents involving British and other foreign workers. More than 100,000 British and Irish labourers are believed to be working in Germany. Our Europe business correspondent Jonathan Charles reports from Berlin.
A diver braves the icy waters, examining the flooded foundations of a Berlin building site. Eastern Germany is undergoing a dramatic facelift after years of communist neglect. There's so much work that British labourers have flocked here by the thousand. But now it's alleged that safety rules may be being breached in the rush to get the job completed. Denise Stacey's husband died in a site accident. She believes many other foreign workers in Germany are at risk. Len Stacey fell 28 feet from a roof he was working on. There was no safety rail to protect him, as German law requires.
For me, it started out as a personal issue, the death of my husband. But the things I've heard since the death of my husband, and I've heard, you know, what is happening to other workers over there, foreign nationals, I'm horrified.
As German building inspectors tour a central Berlin site, they find plenty of evidence the regulations are being flouted. One of them points out inadequate safety railing, just the sort of failure which led to Len Stacey's death.
Do you want some more boards? Yeah.
Elsewhere on the site, British plasterers were discovered balancing on boards which weren't strong enough to hold their weight. The inspectors are determined to be vigilant.
Der Unternehmer wird durch uns angeschrieben.
Inspector Peter Lehniger says companies which ignore safety standards will be fined heavily.
Auch noch nicht funktioniert.
But the authorities are under pressure to be tougher still. There are just too many building sites for policing to be effective. But now members of the European Parliament are demanding a full investigation into safety standards. They've been told that as many as 5 foreign workers die every week in construction accidents here. Hundreds more are injured. Relaxing in a Berlin pub, British builders admit many accidents occur because they're tired. They often work 12-hour days, willing to compromise safety for earnings of £1,000 a week. More restrictions on working time might prevent injury, according to Germany.
Den Arbeitsschutz kontrolliert und koordiniert.
Building union leader Klaus Pankow says a maximum 10-hour day would do much to cut the accident rate.
Dann steigen die Risiken zu sehr.
The German building industry knows it's under severe scrutiny. More measures may now be implemented to prove that safety is being taken seriously. Jonathan Charles, BBC News, Berlin.
Zimbabwe's cricketers are in a strong position after 2 days of the second and final test in Harare. England were bowled out for 156 in their first innings, and Zimbabwe had reached 93 for 2 in reply when rain stopped play.
England's miserable performance on the first day had been no laughing matter, but perhaps there was some small crumb of comfort to be gained as John Crawley and Philip Tufnell edged the total past 150 this morning. But when Tufnell was somewhat unfortunately bowled off his body by Heath Streak, England's score of 156 still seemed woefully inadequate. The start of Zimbabwe's reply offered some encouragement to England when Mark Decker was caught behind off Alan Mullally with a score on just 5. But the Zimbabwean captain Alistair Campbell joined Grant Flower, and the second wicket pair began to put England's total in perspective. But boundaries like this were rare. Only 17 runs came in 2 hours between lunch and tea, and the persistence of the England bowlers was rewarded when Craig White claimed the wicket of Campbell with the score on 46. But Zimbabwe weren't about to bat as badly as England had done, and their vastly experienced coach David Houghton coped with the desperately slow outfield by taking the aerial route to the boundary. At the other end, Grant Flower survived 2 confident English appeals, the second for a catch off Robert Croft, but this once again was Zimbabwe's day. They trail by only 63 runs, and in these conditions, even a modest first innings lead might well be decisive. Rain prevented all but 4 balls after tea today. England might well need more help from the weather to avoid a humiliating defeat in this test and series. Duncan Jones, BBC News.
And the main news again tonight, the Prime Minister has ordered a review of the adoption policy to make it easier for children to be adopted and reduce the number in care. International observers say the local elections in Belgrade were rigged by the Serbian government. They've urged the President to reverse his decision to annul the results. That's all from the 9 o'clock news. Good night.
Now the Midlands News, good evening. Detectives in Wolverhampton have charged a man with the murder of a woman who died in a Christmas Day house fire. Michelle Bonell, who was 34, died when fire engulfed her home in the Bushbury area of the town.
Today the house in Stanley Road was boarded up after the Christmas Day fire. Michelle Bonell died when fire engulfed her home. Her 18-month-old son Damien is still in a critical condition with 50% burns. Her 3-year-old daughter Chantel is now out of intensive care and said to be improving. Police say the children's father, Graham Perrins, who's now recovering in hospital, desperately tried to save his children from the flames.
Despite his best efforts at getting upstairs and in fact attempting to rescue the children from the house, he fell through the first floor window. The children and the children's mother were trapped, and very tragically the mother has died and one of the children is very seriously ill.
A 29-year-old man has now been charged with murder and will appear before Wolverhampton magistrates in the morning. A woman who was arrested on Christmas Day has been released without charge. Joan Cummings, Midlands Today, Wolverhampton.
4 people have been killed in 2 separate road accidents in the region. 2 elderly women died after being hit by a car in Longton in Stoke-on-Trent this afternoon. And 2 people were killed when they were struck by a car in Birmingham yesterday. Alan Stacey and Janet Packham were residents of a home for people with learning difficulties. A Midlands MP is going to write to the police in India to ensure proper protection is given to a Walsall man who, his family believe, is facing death threats while on bail in Calcutta. The MP, Bruce George, says he's very concerned for the safety of Sudip Day, who's under house arrest, facing charges of torture against his new bride.
Back in the comfort of the family home in Warsaw, the father of Sudip Day spoke to journalists about his son's plight in Calcutta. He says people are surrounding the house where he's staying on bail and making threats on his life.
The people are coming at our home. Of course, they can't enter the home. but they're sending the ruffians at homes 2-3 people at a time, sometimes half a dozen, coming with a piece of paper to sign this paper, otherwise we'll kill you.
It must be an horrendous experience for him. To add to that horrendous experience, the threat that Dr. Day has mentioned to his life and well-being, and I hope the Indian authorities will investigate and provide sufficient protection for him.
Sudip Day is under arrest in Calcutta after allegedly threatening to burn his wife just 2 days after their arranged marriage in November. The family of the bride claim there was a dispute over the size of the dowry in the marriage. The Day family have strongly protested their innocence. Sudip Day is in daily touch by telephone with his family, who will rejoin him in India when they're called back by the courts. Colin Pemberton, Midlands Today, Warsaw.
And that's the main news from the Midlands today. Do have a good weekend. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon at 5:30. Now the weekend weather forecast with Michael Fish.
Good evening to you. No end in sight to the cold snap. In fact, it may well get worse before it gets better. And we're not alone. Just look at this. Some of these temperatures earlier on today. Record low temperatures, in fact, near to Warsaw. Below freezing, even close to the Costa del Sol. Right the way down across Italy, where it was snowing. And it's been snowing there for most of the day. And we're going to keep these cold easterly winds throughout the foreseeable future. In fact, that biting wind picking up early next week, when we might get some snow with it as well. But, of course, that's a long way off. Now, at the moment, we've got some cloud feeding across in from the east. It started off very icy in some parts of the country, so do watch out. But as that cloud comes across, so temperatures will rise for a while, and then clearing skies following again, and the temperature going down. And it's already clear skies and below freezing in many western areas. So temperatures up and down like a yo-yo, but the main theme is that eventually we're all going to have a frost, so do watch. As I said, there will be some slippery patches around. Tomorrow we start off in many southern parts rather on the cloudy side, just here and there, as there will be tonight. The odd sort of flake of snow or light bit of rain and sleet, but that'll soon move away and die out. The cloud will break. And for much of the day, for much of the country, it's going to be dry and bright, some weak winter sunshine, best in that northwestern area. Just a chance of the odd light snow flurry near to that east coast, but most areas really staying dry. That wind's going to be picking up again, though. We've had it before, and that cold wind, raw wind coming in from the east or the northeast, making it feel particularly bitterly cold, I think, eventually across the southeastern corner of the country. Well, if anything, actually, the temperatures might go down as the day wears on, and it's not really going to be brilliant temperature-wise anywhere tomorrow. And then a sharp frost countrywide tomorrow night, and then we start off with a reasonably bright day on Sunday with some sunshine. Already some wintry showers near to that eastern coast, and they're going to spread further and further south and west, I think, as the day goes along, and more of those showers turning to sleet or snow, but western and southern parts staying fine and dry. Then the wintry theme continues into Monday. By that time, many eastern areas having some sleet or snow showers, but the more western parts staying fine and dry. That's all from me. A very good evening.
You better believe it, this man's got a price on his head. Way out west, Richard Wilson, with a little help from his friends.
Honest, hard-working cowboy for ranch in Wyoming. I can ride a little bit.
You're doing great, Richard. Practice makes a cowboy. Can Richard Wilson make his mark? Back at the ranch, Way Out West, Sunday at 9 on BBC One.
The award-winning Fast Show continues BBC Two's Friday night comedy in just over 5 minutes with a Christmas special.
A writer of magic.
You don't look at all like C.S. Lewis.
An American poet.
Who is Mrs. Gresham? Oh, she's just a friend.
A meeting of minds.
You've arranged a life for yourself where no one can touch you.
Which grew into love.
I want to marry you, Joy.
A passion which changed their destinies forever.
I don't want to lose you.
I don't want to be lost. Anthony Hopkins and Deborah Winger star in Shadowlands.
Thank you, my love.
New Year's Eve at 8 o'clock on BBC One.
Based on John Grisham's best-selling legal thriller, tonight's network film premiere now on BBC One stars Tom Cruise as a fledgling lawyer who discovers that a job for life means just that when he joins the firm.